Traoré's military earthquake, China just armed Burkina Faso to the teeth, the West is shaking. August 11, 2025 marked this date down. Today, Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, just pulled off a move that will send shockwaves across Africa, and the world. A massive shipment of advanced Chinese military hardware has just rolled into Burkina Faso. We're talking SR-5 multiple rocket launch systems, VN-22B fire support vehicles armed with deadly 105mm cannons. And SM-6/PLL-05 self-propelled mortars, state-of-the-art gear for a nation that just 3 years ago was written off as a weak link in West Africa's security chain. But here's the twist: this isn't just about weapons. It's about a full-blown power shift, and a giant middle finger to Western influence in the Sahel. This is the story the mainstream won't tell you, but I will. This morning, under tight security, a shipment from China landed in Ouagadougou. Inside, the future of Burkina Faso's battlefield strength. First, the SR-5 multiple rocket launch system. This beast can fire guided or unguided rockets up to 70 kilometers away, with precision targeting that makes insurgent hideouts, supply convoys, and even hardened positions vulnerable. Second, the VN-22B fire support vehicle. Imagine a tank and an armored personnel carrier had a baby. You get the VN-22B. It's fast, it's heavily armed with a 105mm cannon. And it's designed for both urban and desert warfare. Third, the SM-6/PLL-05 self-propelled mortar. A 120mm rapid-fire mortar mounted on wheels. This thing can drop high explosive rounds on enemy positions and relocate before counter-fire arrives. Burkina Faso didn't just buy some trucks. They bought battlefield dominance. Why is Traoré making this move now? The answer: insurgent attacks are escalating. Al-Qaeda-linked groups and ISIS affiliates have been tightening their grip on parts of the Sahel. In Burkina Faso alone, hundreds of villages have been hit in the past year. The military has been stretched thin, relying on aging Soviet-era gear and pickup trucks mounted with machine guns. Traoré knows you can't fight 21st-century insurgents with 20th-century equipment. And unlike some African leaders who beg for second-hand gear from former colonial powers, Traoré went shopping in Beijing. This is also part of a bigger Sahel defense doctrine, a joint military modernization pact between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the three nations that recently tore up their ties with France and the West. They pledged to build a self-reliant regional defense force, free from NATO's strings. This deal isn't random. China has been making quiet but powerful moves in Africa's security sector. They've already armed nations like Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Tanzania, but the Burkina Faso deal is different. Why? Because this is smack in the middle of France's former colonial backyard. And China's weapons are replacing French ones. That's symbolic, and dangerous for Paris and Washington. The SR-5 systems, VN-22BS, and SM-6 mortars aren't just weapons, they're proof that China is ready to step in where the West has failed. And here's the kicker: Chinese military aid often comes without the conditions Western nations impose: no lectures on human rights, no IMF austerity, no military bases in return. Just cash, contracts, and firepower. This shipment sends a crystal clear message: Burkina Faso isn't going back to the days of dependency. For decades, French and American officials have claimed they're fighting terrorism in the Sahel, but the reality is, those foreign missions often served their own geopolitical goals. Locals saw little improvement in security. Traoré is saying, we'll defend ourselves. We'll pick our own allies. And he's doubling down on the alliance of Sahel states, a new bloc that wants nothing to do with the West's neocolonial playbook. Think about it: 3 years ago, the Western narrative painted Traoré as an inexperienced young soldier. Today, he's securing high-tech weaponry and building a war-ready army. So what's the real impact? Range and firepower. The SR-5 rockets give Burkina Faso reach. Insurgents can no longer gather in remote bases thinking they're safe. Urban Warfare Edge, the VN-22B gives troops armored, mobile artillery for street fighting and rapid strikes. Counter-mortar tactics, the SM-6/PLL-05 mortars can fire and relocate, perfect for outmaneuvering insurgents who use hit-and-run attacks. This isn't just defensive. It's offensive capability. It means the Burkina army can finally take the fight to the enemy instead of waiting to be attacked. But this isn't without risk. First, insurgents won't sit quietly. Expect them to escalate with bigger attacks, possibly targeting major cities to send a message. Second, Western nations may respond with economic pressure, sanctions, or covert destabilization efforts. Remember what happened to leaders in the past who turned away from Western arms. Third, operating and maintaining Chinese hardware requires training and logistics. Without that, even the most advanced weapons can sit idle. Sources suggest Chinese military advisors may soon arrive to train Burkina troops, another move that will rile up Washington and Paris. This deal could light a fire across the Sahel. Mali and Niger are likely next in line for similar shipments. We could see an entire Chinese armed security corridor stretching across West Africa. And beyond the Sahel? Other nations fed up with Western military dependency like Guinea or Chad might start looking east for weapons. If that happens, the military balance of Africa could tilt for the first time in modern history, away from NATO and towards Beijing. Remember, Traoré isn't just upgrading the army. He's pushing a full independence agenda, breaking from the CFA franc. Nationalizing resources, building alliances with Russia and China, and trying to industrialize Burkina Faso without Western loans. This weapons deal is another brick in that wall of sovereignty. And whether you love or hate him, you can't deny this man is changing the game. August 11, 2025, the day Burkina Faso armed itself for a new era. The West is watching. Africa is watching. The insurgents are watching. And one thing is certain, this is just the beginning. If you learned something new, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Africa's unfolding revolutions.